In the 1930s, an elite team of researchers built a massive industrial facility to engineer human disease into a weapon of mass destruction. When the perpetrators were finally cornered at the end of World War II, the United States government did not put them in a courtroom. It secretly bought their data. The architect of this program was a Japanese military surgeon named Shiro Ishii. In 1925, major global powers signed the Geneva Protocol, banning biological weapons. Ishii's logic was perverse. He reasoned that if these weapons were banned, they must be highly effective, and Japan needed to build them. Japan's 1931 occupation of Manchuria provided the exact environment Ishii needed to test his theory. The imperial military secured a vast buffer zone on the Asian mainland, offering unlimited funding and a limitless supply of captured civilians and prisoners of war to use as test subjects. To the outside world, this operation was known as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Supply Unit. In reality, the facility was a clandestine biological weapons laboratory, hiding behind the cover of a public health organization. Ishii combined aggressive scientific curiosity, unlimited state resources, and a complete removal of medical ethics to create the deadliest research and development program in human history. By 1936, the Pingfang complex covered 6 square kilometers of Manchuria. It required 3,000 staff members to operate 150 buildings. At the absolute center sat the roadblocks, prison cells holding up to 600 human beings, surrounded by research laboratories. Internally called maruta, or logs, subjects entered a conveyor belt system pulled from the central cells, processed through testing labs, and moved directly to the crematoria. The people fed into this system were predominantly Chinese civilians. The prison population also included Koreans, Russians, captured Allied soldiers, pregnant women, and children. The facility maintained a strict operational policy. No test subject who entered the Pingfang complex would ever leave alive. Unit 731 functioned as a highly organized, industrialized data extraction machine, where human lives were consumed as raw material. To gather this data, researchers infected prisoners with plague, anthrax, and cholera. To observe how these pathogens destroyed internal organs in real time, surgeons performed live vivisections without anesthesia, claiming that painkillers would compromise the physiological data. The military also needed extreme environmental research. Physiologists forced prisoners into sub-zero winters, freezing their limbs to black, hardened tissue to test thawing techniques for winter warfare. Inside the compound, researchers placed subjects into hypobaric pressure chambers, rapidly depleting oxygen to simulate high-altitude aviation stress until their eardrums burst. At the nearby Anta Station Proving Grounds, soldiers tied humans to stakes at specific distances from explosive charges to measure the exact lethality radius of fragmentation shrapnel and biological bombs. The unit then took these laboratory results into the field. Japanese aircraft dropped aerial bombs packed with plague-infected fleas over dense Chinese cities, triggering mass outbreaks to test their weaponized delivery systems against real civilian targets. These processes generated decades' worth of exclusive, lethal biological data information that no scientific program bound by medical ethics could ever replicate. By the summer of 1945, Japan's defeat was imminent. To hide the operation, Shiro Ishii ordered the complete destruction of the Pingfang complex, executing the remaining prisoners and burning millions of pages of experimental records. But American investigators, led by Lieutenant Colonel Murray Sanders, broke the silence. By threatening to hand the researchers over to Soviet prosecutors, the U.S. discovered the true scope of Unit 731 and realized the strategic value of the biological data in the early Cold War. This presented General Douglas MacArthur with a stark choice: prosecute a documented network of mass murderers or grant them full immunity to secure their bioweapons blueprints exclusively for the United States. The United States chose the blueprints. MacArthur granted immunity to Ishii and his leadership network, paying them small cash stipends for their files. Crucially, American officials deliberately withheld all evidence of Unit 731's biological warfare from the International Military Tribunal for the Far East. The U.S. government became an active accomplice after the fact, calculating that a strategic advantage in biological warfare was worth more than justice for hundreds of thousands of murdered civilians. This created a glaring double standard. In Germany, American prosecutors led the charge at the Nuremberg trials to prosecute and hang Nazi doctors for their medical experiments, a standard of justice that was deliberately denied to the victims of Unit 731. The purchased human experimentation data was funneled directly into the United States Army's own biological warfare research programs at Camp Detrick. Shielded by the American immunity deal, the doctors of Unit 731 walked free. Many returned to Japanese society to become celebrated professors, university presidents, and honored medical pioneers. One even received the Order of the Rising Sun. The victims received nothing. To this day, Japan has never paid compensation for the estimated 250,000 dead, and for decades, the Japanese government actively erased Unit 731 from its school textbooks. The legacy of Unit 731 demonstrates how the pursuit of innovation can be completely decoupled from the desire to help humanity, and that the institutions we trust to uphold justice will look the other way, provided the blueprints are valuable enough.